love to see your beautiful faces. Oh, yes, thank you. It's like you just know me so well. So welcome to No Money, No Problems. The screen's right there for you to see what we're doing because I just read all that. But again, we would love to see your beautiful faces if at all possible. It really does give me and myself a way to, make sure that what we're saying makes sense to you. If you can't, we completely understand. No worries. But again, we do love to see your beautiful faces and smiles. Hopefully you're smiling with us. This is our agenda for today. Take a look at it real quick. We got a lot packed in here. It's going to be a full, fun hour and 30 minutes approximately. And we're going to go ahead and jump on in. Oh, who are these lovely women? Who are they? It is no other than us, Chelsea Fajardo and Mia Buta. We're going to really quickly dive into who we are personally and professionally. These are some older pictures, aka like within the last 2 months. I just changed my hair and then Mia's just still looks popping. So here we go. Mia, you want to start off?
Absolutely. I did change my hair from that picture too. All right. So my name is Mia Butai. I am born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I went to high school. I went to Western High School. We know how important our high schools are. And my oldest daughter just got into Western, so she is going to be a Dove as well. I just want to shout out there. I see Dove Love. Hey Dove, how you doing? Okay. I went to when I left Western, I went to Coppin State, and at the time it was Coppin State College. So I know I'm dating myself because there was a switch in the 2000s. So yeah, Coppin State College. Then I went on to Johns Hopkins to get my master's in teaching. And then I went to Loyola to get my master's in school counseling. So I'm a school counselor now, but I was a teacher for 15 years. And then I just transitioned into school counseling. So that's what I do. I love it so much. So three hobbies. P and I were just so I call her P, so you'll hear that a lot. So P and I were talking about how honest I was going to be about my hobbies. I'm being completely honest. I have them as reading, shopping, and running. And so those are the things I love best. Chelsea Fajardo, what about you?
All right, everybody. So I am Chelsea Fajardo. Oh, hold on. Let me get my Oh, there we go with the spotlights. So I am Chelsea Fajardo. They call me Miss P though at my job. So I was born and raised also in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a Yukon Husky. So I went to the wonderful University of Connecticut. If you would like to ever get a degree, in the future, since many of you probably have your degrees, by all means, go ahead and become a Husky because we're just the best. But then I also got my master's from Johns Hopkins University. So I'm also a Blue Jay on the side, but definitely a Husky, number one for sure. My profession, I am a community school coordinator, but before this, I was a classroom teacher. I've taught kindergarten, I've taught second grade, I've taught third grade, and then for summer camp and after school, I've taught a bunch of other grades as well. And then my top three hobbies, I am also going to be completely honest, and I love to read, I love to travel, and then I love trying new cuisine, but I'm going to say that I love cooking right now. Because I'm trying to become better at cooking. But don't play me, everybody, because your girl can cook. I'm just like really, stepping up my repertoire. So that is who we are in a nutshell. And then for us as our group, our connection question, there we go, is you will be broken out into breakout rooms. You're going to share your name, your school, and the number of years you are as a coordinator. And the reason being is because we have a lot of new coordinators on the call, but we also have a lot of veterans, and you might not all know each other, especially because we're in this virtual capacity right now. So share your name, share your school, and share the number of years you've been a coordinator. And the question is, what was the best time you've had without spending any money? So I'm gonna pop that question to Mia first so that way you can get an idea in your head about what do we mean here, because I know it might be hard, because it might have been a little hard for us too, I'm not gonna lie. Go ahead, Mia.
Well, first of all, we got jokes in the chat about it's okay if you burn a few eggs. I'm gonna leave that right there. But so thinking about this, yes, I do like to shop, so I spend money all the time. Sorry, not sorry. But it is important to think about those times that you spend that don't cost a dime. So, like 2 weeks ago, me and my husband, our three children, we went out to Druid Hill Park. We live in West Baltimore, and she said doesn't count as someone else's spending. I like how you think it, Miss Cheryl. I really do. I like where your head is at. We went out to Druid Hill Park. Yes, it counts. There used to be no money spent at all. No money spent at all. So we went out to Druid Hill, and they're doing all of that construction. So we wanted to kind of get a closer look at it. So we like walked around like the area safely around the area where they were doing construction, kind of like looked over to see like how deep that little like trench around it is. Then we kind of like walked through the woods, and my younger two picked up sticks and were like investigating cicada shells, and my oldest daughter and I were crunching pine cones, and it was just a really sweet time. It's just like a moment to just like relax and enjoy each other in nature. So didn't spend a dime, and it was a really great time. Pete, what about you?
All right. We love that, Mia. I don't love cicadas, but that's a story for another day. One of my favorite things to do, that is a story for another day, everybody. But one of my favorite things to do without spending money is spending time with my mama. She is my heart, like outside of my body. She's like the best person in the whole wide world to me. So she's my Japanese grandmother, and we love just like hanging out and watching. She loves Wheel of Fortune. She loves Price is Right. So I love sitting with her and watching those shows. When she doesn't want to go, of course, to spend money at like Home Goodies, as she calls it, or H Mart. But I love spending time with her. And then I also love game night with my family. So just spending time playing games. We are very competitive as Pajardos. So there's a lot of like arguing in a sense, and a lot of debate going on when we're playing certain games, because sometimes some people don't want to abide by the rules. We're not going to call them cheaters, but they don't want to abide by the rules, and they think that people aren't paying attention to them. I won't say no names there,
Is it you?
but yes. Huh? No, it's not me. Please, I play by all the rules. Don't talk to Cheyenne and Chet, but I play by all the rules. And sometimes they just aren't as good. This just happens. But yeah, so spending time with my family is definitely on the top of the list. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put the Google Doc in the chat. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. That way you all can have the document. And what you're going to do is in your group, you're going to go ahead, and when you're in your breakout room, you will go open the slides. You're going to click on, if you're in group 1, you're just going to go ahead and put what is, again, the answer to your question. One person from your group can type all the answers, or everybody can type all the answers. But we would like you to talk about it, but also type the answer. It can just be the short version of it, because what we're going to do when we come back is go over some of the, well, we're going to go over most of them, but go over like, what do we all have in common? So go ahead. Can everybody go ahead and try to open this Google Doc though, please? I just want to make sure it works before I send you off into breakout rooms, and then we have a whole conniption.
Oh, Christine says open.
Perfect. We love it. Okay. We love it here. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I got you. You're going to go ahead into your breakout rooms. We're going to take a couple minutes for this, just again, to get to know each other and talk about some good times. All right, without further ado, breakout rooms are now open. So go ahead and join. For those that just came, I am adding you as we speak.
Oh, I put the thing back in the chat too.
Perfect. Yeah. We love you, Mia, for that. All right. Now.
It's like it never even happened.
Exactly. Hello, everybody. I know that might have been like a quick stop. I know how it feels because Mia always stops me so quickly on these calls. She's laughing hysterically.
What is happening?
Because you always end it so quickly for me, but it's okay because we are going to share the results. In the chat, you also have the link. So if you didn't get to type out your response, feel free to open it up and go ahead and add that answer if you would like. All right, so let me go ahead and reshare my screen. Here we go. All right, can everybody still see the screen?
Yes, indeed.
All right, perfect. See, Mia, hold on. Let me go ahead and add both of us with the spotlights here so Mike can't play this game with me. All right, so some of the things people have said, virtual game nights, going to football games, with my daughter and grandchildren. Family game night was one. Okay, we have, let's see, what else do we have here? The mayor's spring cleanup. Shout out to community cleanups, karaoke, spending time with family.
Yes, love it.
All right, we also have love spending time with neighborhood children and the cats on my front porch. So just sitting outside, we love that. Loving playing sports, anytime in nature. Okay. Shout out to the newborn baby.
Aw.
home cooks meals outside at the lake with my significant other. This sounds like a gorgeous time. Whoever put that, this sounds like a beautiful time. Being with good family and friends, getting outside hiking. Oh,
Six. I feel like this is a group after P's own heart.
this is the 5th grade virtual closing exercise. It is after my heart. Those are my babies. Okay, connecting with the families, hearing the students speak. They were very articulate. Oh, we didn't have to spend any money because it was virtual. Absolutely. Exploring national parks. Very good. Shenandoah, spending time outside in nature. Oh, Saturday morning car rides. Yes, we act a fool. We love that. Laughing so hard, crying to let out all the week's stress. Yes, we understand that too. Work participating in the bike collective city scavenger hunt. Oh, no money and bike provided equipment for kids. Definitely going to look into that.
Yeah.
And then let's see.
I said night here, and they were kind of just saying where they were from.
Yes, and where they were from. Perfect. So I'm going to go back to our other one. So as you saw, a lot of people were sharing with us, going outside was a big one. Virtual game nights was a big one. Spending time with those family and friends were a big one. And that's all great. And the reason that we had you guys do this activity is because today's session is really about the magic, right? It's about spending and making these moments with your school communities, with your families, without spending money. Now, granted, if you have the budget, by all means, use the budget, right? It's there for a reason. But if you don't, we're about to show you how we've been able to do this whole year, everybody, with very little money, if honestly, no money at all. So let's look at some magic. Just so you know, me and I work at a pre-K to 8th grade school. We are 2 campuses though. So Mia spends a lot of time at the middle school campus and I spend a lot of time at the elementary school campus. But Mia comes to visit me down the hill, y'all. So we are at the Bel Air Edison School. We're located in East Baltimore. We have approximately together 1,000 plus students and approximately 100 plus staff. So that is our school in a nutshell. Here are some pictures pre-COVID. So as you can see, these were activities that we've done. Basketball game, no money. Workout with the PE teacher in the bottom left, no money. Or kids came, that's a partnership we have. So that does cost, right? But we also were able to use, like our OrKids teacher was able to help us this year with our virtual showcases, no money. We had, of course, Senator McCray here. He just came to visit us. Port Discovery pops up sometimes. Again, partnerships that we formed. And then pop-up play dates at the bottom. You see the hula hoops outside. Again, no money. That's PE equipment we already have. So we're going to dive deep into some of the activities and some of the various events that we've done with what? No money. So how we got started. So last year, spring of 2020, right? Am I right with that? It was 2020? Yes, spring of 2020. Yeah, it was that long ago. The pandemic hit. You all know it. We all felt it. It was like, oh my goodness, we're at home for, 2 weeks. Then it was, okay, we're at home for a month. And so at the end of every school year in the past, we've always had tons of events, which I'm sure a lot of your schools have too. We've had our closing ceremonies. We've had tons of field trips, right? We've had tons of family nights, our mommy and me tea, our father-son breakfast, our field day activities. We've had house day activities. We've just had so many events planned for the end of the school year, and COVID hit. The pandemic happened, and it was, okay, we can't do any of those in-person events. So what do? So me and I touched base. And we said, all right, we might not be able to do all of those events that we had planned. Mind you, this is spring 2020 when it first happened. But we can definitely do something. So we put together these Be in the Mix, which is a play off of our school, Be in the Mix, right? Bel Air Edison. So you can come up with a catchy slogan for your school. Do your best. Ours was just a little bit easier, but we came up with an art night. And for the art night, it was come out virtually, right? A Zoom link, no money. We had grab some art supplies that you already have in your house. So notebook paper, pencil, crayons, right? School supplies that a lot of kids honestly do have at home. And let's draw together. Now, me as a better artist than myself, we put that one on together, right? But this upcoming school year in the fall of 2020, our art teacher, who is brand new to the school, said, hey, I'd like to do something. I'd like to show the school, like, I'm new. I'd like to be a part of the community. I'd like to do something. How can I help? So again, no money. We put together a virtual art night, a workshop. She came on, she put together Google Slides for us. She went through and talked to the students about different art, some of the stuff and techniques that they were doing in class already. And it cost $0 because the students just had what? White paper, which we had at school if they needed some to come pick up, and we had extra crayons laying around. And you might say, okay, you know, paper is considered gold at our school, so we don't have that. Everybody, if you go into a teacher's classroom, there's some old wrinkly paper somewhere in one of those cabinets, and that is something you can give out because nobody else is using it. Okay. Again, ask first. Don't just go into people's spaces. Let me put that. Don't just go into people's spaces like that, but ask, right? We also, again, had partnerships too, who have been able to help with some of these events, but initially it was no money. Oh, this is one of our favorites. Go ahead, Mia. Talk about these cooking lessons for no money.
So again, no money, but we were just thinking large, like how do we expand the world for our students, even though we're all stuck at home? And then again, tapping into the resources that are right within our building. So Patricia Njenga is the director of curriculum instruction at the middle school. And she also happens to be Kenyan, and she also happens to love cooking. So on her own, she does like little like videos and things for her friends, and so I said, would you be interested in doing a Be in the Mix? And we also have a dance that goes to the Be in the Mix, let's be clear, the Be in the Mix. Okay. Would you like to do the kitchen edition, like a cooking kind of show? And she said yes. So what she did was she decided on it. She said, well, what do you want me to make? And I said, whatever you want to make. So she decided on a Kenyan beef stew. And what was the other thing? And the
Kale.
And the kale. And then she added in the bread, which I don't want to get all the way into that because I tried and failed.
Yeah. You should just leave that one there, Mia.
We're going to leave that in the past.
Put that to the side for now.
To the side. Okay. So I asked Patricia. So she comes up with the recipe. She sends out an ingredients list. So this is where the no money comes in again. So it's like you're already going to the store. She sent out the ingredients like 2 weeks in advance. So if you're going to the store already, you can budget this into what you're going to pick up. Or it was so simple that you could substitute pretty much anything for it, or just kind of cook along with whatever you were already making at home. So yes, it's about the actual meal she was making, but also about the community that we were creating. So Patricia is Kenyan, and then we had some other staff who were from other just countries and cultures. And so as she was kind of talking through the food and the stories, other staff and parents and family who were just kind of listening were able to say, oh, this food that you make is like this thing that we make. And then there was a whole jollof rice situation in the comments, like who makes it the best, you know what I mean? So it's like we really got into it and allowed for just more community. And even if you weren't cooking, you still were there enjoying the experience. And then also everyone enjoyed like kind of showing their food. And she really got into it. Like she had multiple cameras set up. And so I think P was doing production. So she was switching between, what we were seeing.
Angles.
So, yeah. So it was just a beautiful experience because again, not a lot of money, but so much community was created from that experience.
Absolutely. And something else too, we were a meal site this year, and a lot of your schools are meal sites too. So we actually had produce boxes. So we were able to tell families too, hey, come up to the school and you'll be able to get a produce box. And again, even if it doesn't have kale in the box this week, you could still take something from the produce box and cook along with us. So it was a great time. And again, as Mia said, even if you didn't have the same ingredients or you didn't have the ingredients to cook, you could just sit on and watch. It was like watching, the Food Network, but the B version of it. So, I didn't mean to say like B as in like B+ version, but like
B
in the mix version. Thank you. The B in the mix. Patricia, if you're watching, I don't want you to get upset with me. You're definitely A+ material here, baby. But yes, so again, free, right? Easy. People have these ingredients. So you can always make something out of what you have without having to come out of pocket for these events. So that was one of our cooking examples. And then we have, Be in the Mix trivia. This is where it all started, people. Mia and I have come a long way with our trivia. So at first, We'll walk you through. Oh, Mia, what can we do? Oh, let's do trivia, P. Okay. So then it was this whole like mathematical equation. We were like, okay, let's go ahead and break down into 5 sections, right? We're going to have a food section, and then we're going to have a movie section, and then we're going to have a music section, and then we're going to have sports section. And what we're going to do is really tie it into the month. Okay. And then from there, like, me and I went through it, everybody. We were adding in like video clips of movies. Like, okay, let's put in the video clip, but it can't have the words of the movie inside of the clip because kids are going to guess what movie it's from, right? Or like who the actor is or whatever. So we went through the ringer with these, and then we realized, oh, hey,
working too hard.
We're working way too hard. It's trivia. There are tons of resources on Google, on Microsoft for trivia, everybody. So if you ever need questions, you can just search them and use, right? Because they're already there. But what we did do is for these months, we made sure, because our students are predominantly African American, we made sure we had a Black history section in each of our trivias. And why, you might ask? We wanted our students to be able to make sure that, at least in this space, we were getting more of our history. And it's important, right?
Too, because that was another pivot. Like when we first started it, we did not have a Black history section. We had like what P said, and then we were like, oh, they kind of are into the Black history. And then when we said explicitly we're including a Black history section every time we do trivia, they were like, oh, I love that part of it. Like we got a lot of positive feedback. Like they really enjoyed it, and it wasn't as hard as we thought to kind of just put it all together, like infuse it organically.
Absolutely. And what we did, everybody, for these, we used Poster My Wall for the flyers. So it's a great free website. They do have parts that you can pay for, but again, free. Another website a lot of people use is, I believe it's Canva. Yes, Canva. You can use that too. If you have other ones, please, by all means, drop them in the chat so we have a running resource to go off of. And then we created Google Slides for the questions.
And so, we use Slides Go because we love a beautiful background. So we got Slides Go to put those together. Like everything we do is collaborative. So P said we do Poster My Wall, but really P does Poster My Wall. This is not my ministry, and I know my gifts and I stay in my lane. So we work as a collaborative team with the things that we know how to do best.
Yes, absolutely. But trivia is super fun, super easy. You get on a Zoom, you go through the questions, you go over the answers, and you just see who the winner is. And we went from, an hour of trivia to about 30, 45 minutes of trivia. And you can tailor it for any age range. That's what I love too. It could be multiple choice. It could be fill in the blank. It could be, it could be, find the word in the phrase. Like you can do trivia in so many different ways. Listen to the clip, tell me the name of the song. Listen to the clip, tell me the artist. So if you are working with high school students, definitely something you can do. If you're working with the littles, right? Definitely something you can do. So trivia is definitely a free, easy way to go.
But lastly, we infuse the trivia within the month. So you see this women's history trivia the entire month of March. We had videos that teachers recorded that talked about famous women throughout history. So at the end of March, our culminating activity you see was March 24th was the trivia. So it was like everyone already was exposed to the questions. If you've been listening every morning, we have advisory for about 30 minutes or so. So all of our students from pre-K to 8 were getting the same videos and information. And it's also a way to kind of have more union and joining with the two campuses, seeing the same videos, coming to the same events, just really creating much more community and partnership.
Absolutely. And that was the same too for our winter trivia night. We had a whole spirit month. So if you've had those, we had the whole spirit month. And then again, if students were participating, they'd hear it on morning announcements. This final event, they'd be able to really get a lot of the answers. So that was a fun time. Exactly. And the link is shared in Google Classroom, which makes it a lot easier for families. In addition to, we talk about hey, check your Google Classroom. Hey, check your, so then parents again, right, are going into the Google Classroom. So yes, they might join for an event, but then they'll also see what the teacher's talking about. Because let's be real, once you're on a site, you start scrolling, you're going to scroll to see what else is going on. And that way teachers and families are again communicating. So those were some of our trivias.
We love the trivia.
We do. But this one.
So this is so near and dear to us because the virtual career fair was, I feel like, the first major thing that we did that was a huge shift from in person to virtual, because we and another of our former colleagues were planning the career fair in person for May. And when COVID hit and they decided to, shut down schools in person, we were like, okay, how are we going to make this happen? And so we started like reaching out to those same folks and even more people and said, could you just do like a 2 to 5 minute video? We did. We are survey queens. We are email queens. So we did the due diligence. We created a form. So we always stayed very organized to make sure that we knew who was coming, who was doing what, and then putting everything together. But at the end of the day, we ended up with over 40 videos, and we're able to put like tailor-made presentations together for pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8. So our entire school community was able to access all of these amazing videos that we use again and again, because we're always getting new kids. We can like pull videos from here and from there and put a whole new thing together. So that, I feel like I think that was like one of the best things that we did, like in the beginning of the pandemic, to like set an expectation that even though we're not together, we are still going to work very hard to have like a really amazing experience and bring some opportunities to our kids. And while we were doing that, we were thinking, okay, so we've done this, how can we make this even bigger? And I was like, what if we like got people from like all around the world to talk to our kids? And he was like, of course, because like we just co-sign each other's stuff, and it ends up being
Yes.
good. So she was
No
like,
matter how crazy it might sound, guys, you might be like, I don't know anybody from, across wherever, or I don't know enough people, right? And again, it's just tapping in. So when we were talking about the initial virtual career fair, it's who can we reach out to?
yeah,
Who are some of our friends? Who are some of our family members? And we just asked. It was a simple ask. And if
Yep.
people said no, you know where we were, guys? In the same spot we were, with the answer being no. We just didn't have that video. But you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, you know what? I would love to do that for the kids. Oh, you know what? That's something really easy I could do. Because all they did was what? Take their phone and go ahead and record themselves and send that video to us. That's it. It was a quick 2 minutes. And if they couldn't, a lot of times they let us know somebody else who could. Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm so swamped at work right now, but let me give you such and such's number because I think they'd love to do it.
Yep.
And then that person was like, oh my God, thank you for reaching out to me. I would have never thought to like share what I do with kids.
Yep.
Because so often our kids are, seeing and hearing about certain professions and certain careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we want to make sure that our students can hear that there are so many opportunities. And that is when this beautiful international career fair, as Mia shared, was inspired. So what we did was, again, we reached out to our school staff and we said, hey, do you know anybody who is working in another country or who lives in another country who's working there? Right? So either they're an American citizen who's going overseas and working, or they're just a native born to that country and they're working there, who would share about what they do with our students. And people were like, oh yeah, I have a friend in the Philippines. Oh yeah, I have a friend in Hong Kong. Oh yeah, I have a friend in Japan. Oh yeah, and so what we did was we started getting those videos, and it was great because I reached out to a couple people. One was a friend from UConn, shout out to my Huskies. And I didn't even realize, but he was teaching in Dubai and he was teaching English. He said, listen, a few years ago, I didn't think I would be in Dubai, but he's from, right, Connecticut, same area in the sense of similar to circumstances that our kids are. And I just wanted our kids to be able to see that regardless of where you come from, you can still go out into the world. You can still have these experiences. You can still become whatever it is you want to become. And here's proof of people who have been able to do it. I'm not saying it's not going to be hard, but it's possible. So we were able to do 2 weeks of an international career fair. So our students got to visit England, they got to visit China, they got to visit Dubai, they got to visit Japan, they got to visit Germany, and they again got to see just quick snippets of people living in those countries, working in those countries, and sharing their experiences.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It really was. And P got most of those people together. I was like, where did this person come from? And she was like, oh, I'm from, but it's just about like, I knew people locally and she knew people internationally. And so between, you know, when you have a partnership, you just strengthen each other with what you can bring to the table. So that
Absolutely.
brings us into our being the mix unconventional careers because again, okay, we said virtual careers, we have the traditional things, we said international, let's see the world. And then we were like, what about some things people don't think about often? So my
Yes.
husband is a special educator, but he also is a comedian. And right after the Trayvon Martin murder, he decided to start doing comedy and have like his like social commentary and political views and kind of do it in a comedic sense. And from there, he grew this thing called Class Clowns that he took around to different schools where he also worked at and worked on like public speaking for kids and just telling their own stories. And so I wanted the children to, like, we all had those kids in our class who loved to tell a joke, cut a rug. Yes, Mr. Muhammad saying Douglas is representing. Um, and so he like tapped into those kids and played off of that name of you just a class clown. It's like, no, but you can be more than that. You can tell your story in an authentic way. And I felt like that was important for our students to see that there's space for everyone's voice to be heard. And then I have another friend, Erica Bentley, and she was a teacher. She used to teach pre-K. And when we worked together, she always told me about her vintage store dreams. I'm going to own a vintage store. And she now owns two in Baltimore, born and raised in Baltimore. And it's like, these are the things, these are the people that we want our students to be able to see. And both of them got on there, talked about their career paths, what brought them to this place and what they like, what joy they get from it. So it's like, it's not just like this lane or this lane. There's so many things that are opened up to you. And so this was something like, I think that one of our proudest things is this whole career inspiration thing that we did because we just were able to touch so many kids. And again, no money was spent, not a dollar did we spend. We just asked people who we thought might want to, you know, like believe in our vision, and they said yes. And like P said, it's like you either going to say yes or you're going to say no. And I'm not any worse off if I've asked and you said no. It's like, okay, cool. Then I'll move on to the next person, you know. So this was a
Yeah.
great experience for no
And
money.
again, you might be like, oh, I don't really know a lot of people, or my circle of friends isn't that big. And that's okay too, right? Because the reality is you all work in a school. So you all have other staff members too. So talk to your staff, right? Just ask, hey, do you know anybody? Or hey, would you mind sharing with a couple friends? Or would you mind posting this on your social media too? And again, that comes back to if you were in our session last week of No I in Team, it's about building those relationships in your school to be able to push some of this work. So it will take some time, but social media is a great place to go through and like start asking like, hey, would you, might be fun for you type of thing. In the chat, we have, are we doing anything over the summer? So we do have a summer camp that we're running. So we were going to just let our summer camp be summer camp this year. And then in August, we'll end up doing some events. Our principals from both campuses end up doing popsicles with principals, or sweet meet and greet, sweet treat meet and greet, something cute like that is like always a tradition that we do. So hopefully we'll be able to do that in person again this year. But we'll probably just kick back up again in the fall as we've been doing, because we've been doing these weekly family events. And then, yes, we love though that you have been able to do some virtual activities last summer and got great feedback. And yes, please let us know too what you plan to do this summer. Our camp is in person this year. And then there was one more in the chat. Oh, you'd love to do virtual career fair? Absolutely. If you like our videos, by all means, we're going to put our contact information at the end. We'll share our videos with you, so you have a starting off point. We don't mind sharing these resources. By all means, please share these with our kids, because at the end of the day, these are all of our kids, right? City kids are all of our kids. So we want to share these experiences. So yes, we can definitely give you our access to our international career fair and access to our national career fair. We don't mind that at all.
I like how we have national and international now. Like,
right, you know it, right? Next year is just going to be so much better, because I'm really striving. I'm striving for a month, Mia, just like we did our, like, at least, you know what I mean? It's only like what, 10 more videos. I'm gonna find it.
Let's
all right. So here we have our BWAP, so our Bel Air Edison Wellness Ambassador programs. As a Brems campus, this is our second year for this, but the Brendan campus, they're the OGs in the game. They've been doing this for just a lot of years. I'm not sure exactly how many, but definitely more than Brems. And what this is in previous years, we would come together for 2 hours. The first hour would be for physical activity. So it would be something all together. We've done like step competition. We've had our PE team, our sporting teams do like a cheering activity, a running activity, a basketball activity. We've had all of those events again in person, and then we would have an hour of just eating together and talking and just fellowshipping and having a great time building community. Now COVID hit, so obviously we couldn't do those right in person last year. So what we did was we transitioned into the virtual world, and again it was free. So what we did was we talked to our PE team and we said, hey, would you be willing or interested in doing, instead of an hour of physical activity online, a quick 30 minutes? So like a 10-minute warm up and a 20-minute activity. And they were like, yeah. So in the top right corner with the little green box, we have Coach Green, one of our PE instructors. She led a wonderful activity of just stretching in the house, of running in place, different exercises. Weights were 2 canned goods. So she was like, go grab 2 canned goods in your house, and we're going to use those as weights. So again, using stuff that you already have in your house to work out. We also had other instructors come out to do a boxing technique. One of our PE instructors loved boxing. So during Women's History Month, he talked about boxing and like showed different jabs and all that for the kids. We've had CrossFit instructors. Again, people who we've had relationships with just come out and do some fun CrossFit in the house. Yoga is something fun and easy. And again, if you're like, well, I don't have any of these instructors, or I myself am not really good at physical fitness. Hello, like myself over here. YouTube is phenomenal, everybody. There are some great free YouTube videos that are out there. Cosmic Kids, I'm gonna throw out some names here. Cosmic Kids is one where they do yoga for kids, and you could just share your screen to play that together. There are some other ones whose names are escaping me at this moment, but again, free, right? Hey, we're going to work out together. We're going to play this video. We're going to do Zumba together. We're going to play this video. And we're just building fellowship. And then after that, what we did, how I said we had that hour of like eating together. Well, clearly we couldn't do that with COVID. So what we did was had families come up, ding, 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 those free produce boxes, talk to the cafeteria staff. Hey, is it okay if we set aside 20 of these produce boxes? Because we'd like to be able to give them to our families for coming to our BWAP. And she was like, of course, right? Because they're free. She can't say no, really, but it's still courtesy to ask. So we moved them to the front office. We then, for certain ones, we did pair with a free recipe, something vegetarian, right? Because we had all these vegetables, all these produce. But then sometimes we did add, for example, taco night. So we taught them how to make vegetarian tacos, and we asked the school in our school family council budget, hey, is it possible for us to buy taco kits? Everybody, taco kits are really cheap. Okay, really, really cheap. It's like $2 a taco kit, and that can feed a family. And then, you might want to spruce it up some, get some extra seasoning packets, or, some extra tortillas because you have some bigger families, maybe a box of rice or refried beans. But again, you're able to make 10 kits, right, for less than $100. So use your resources. The Maryland Food Bank actually has refried beans in their pantries typically. They also have the rice packets. So again, you're supplementing. And if you don't have access to the Maryland Food Bank because you're not a food pantry, check in with other coordinators. Check in with other meal sites. People are willing to help and support. How many times have you been like, oh man, I have a family who might need some help. Is there anybody? And you just reach out to another coordinator and they're like, hey, our school has this to offer. We are a community, guys. It might not always feel like that because you might feel like a unicorn in your school, but we are a community. So reach out, talk to your supervisor. If you're not sure, if you're brand new, who to talk to your supervisor to ask for support. You can reach out again to me and myself. We'll put you in contact with some people if we don't have the answers, but free. And finally, this last one, or I should say for this one, minimal cost. And finally, in the bottom left was our Be Active April challenge. So we were back in person, and all we did was download, I'm about to give another shout out to the Nike Run app, Nike Run Club app. We had staff download it. We put a competition up. It took 2 seconds to put this competition up. I didn't put it up. One of our SPED directors, she put it up. But what it was a challenge to get everybody active. So people downloaded the app, they joined the challenge, and all you did was press start workout, and then you went running, and then it recorded your miles, and then it recorded where you were on the leaderboard. So right now, you know, again, something free, something easy. You can get staff involved. You could do it for families if you wanted, but just a really fun way to stay healthy. This upcoming year, Mia and I have talked to the middle school instructors and our PE instructors down at the elementary campus, and we're talking about how can we incorporate more physical fitness activities, more nutritional health activities that are free for our staff, just to make sure that, again, we are all focusing on our health as well, because you cannot do as much as you want if you are not healthy too. So stuff to do for families, stuff to do for, you know, staff too. Oh, go ahead, Mia. No, what were you gonna say? Let me go back.
Oh, no. I had nothing to add.
Oh, no, nothing to add? Okay, I wasn't
I
sure.
was going to say Margie was given a compliment, so thank you.
Oh, let me check. Oh, thanks, Margie. Mia, I appreciate you watching the chat here. So this is something else that was free. Last year, as you all know, typically schools go on field trips. So as a coordinator, I would help coordinate field trips. I would call and say, hey, we'd like to get on field trips. We had a budget for field trips. Clearly during COVID, we couldn't take buses, right, and go to actual physical locations because A, we weren't in school, but B, a lot of places were closed down. So during the summer of last year, I reached out to a lot of these organizations and I said, hey, what are you doing in this virtual space? And guys, I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of organizations said, we are working on it. Because just like us, they were thrown into it too and never really had to think about how can we still promote our organization in this virtual space. So by the fall, a lot of these organizations did come out and they said, you know what, we have some stuff. Now, this whole school year, every Wednesday since the second week of school, every single one of our students at Brems Elementary has been able to visit somewhere virtually. So that is over 30 organizations that they have been able to go to virtually, which I'm really excited and really proud of because, again, it's all about exposure. Now you might say, well, what did that look like? Okay, let's give the bottom left example, Colgate Dental. Typically they come out with their van, they do the dental checks, they talk about proper hygiene. We converted that to a virtual space, everybody. They virtually put together a reading for the kids. They virtually put together a game for the kids. They virtually put together a hygiene tutorial, right? And they walked the kids through that. And then the toothbrushes that they would typically give out, they brought the boxes to our campus. And then as a campus, we decided what pickup days would be. So then the kids could come up and during, you know, and grab toothbrushes, which was great. Again, free. Top left, we have, or sorry, I don't know which way you're looking at it, but we have Fulton Bank with Dion, my girl there. April is Financial Literacy Month. In the past, she would bring all of these interns, all of these bankers to the school, and they would go over financial literacy with our 3rd through 5th graders. Okay, the kids would get their little cute little piggy banks and walk through these scenarios and talk about how to save money, how to spend money, what does it look like, what should we do? And I talked to Dion and said, you know, Dion, we're in person, but all of our kids aren't back, so we have to go virtual. And she said, P, I got it. We'll figure it out. I said, all right, Dion, let's see what you got. Her organization, came up with, again, a wonderful presentation to walk through the kids through saving money and, you know, spending money and making wise financial choices. And again, guys, free. Maryland Zoo. This one sometimes costs money, but you got to know to ask. Always ask everybody, hey, I'm a Title I school. Do you guys have any grants that you have right now? Or, hey, I'm a Title I school. I'm working with a small budget. Is there any way you could help me get my kids to come visit your organization? And just see what they say. Again, if they say, no, we don't, you're still in the same boat that you just were in, right? Paying out of pocket. But they might say, oh, yeah, we do. This example right here, second graders, the Maryland Zoo always gets a grant, knock on wood, always gets this grant for second grade where it's free. So our second graders were able to virtually visit the zoo for free this year, where in the past they would get to virtually have, or in person, have them come to the school and do the zoo mobile. So again, tapping in. And then this bottom right one is one of our Towson interns. I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do a read aloud for our pre-K and K students. And Mia had this wonderful book. And so she's like, okay, Chelsea or Miss P, I can do that. And she just read to the kids. Simple, free. Think about what are some of the things you guys can do, again, that are free and easy. And then here we go. This was right here.
This is something else. This is interesting in that last year for Black History Month, so the school year 1920 is when we started thinking about Black History Month for 2021 before COVID even hit. We had Black History Month of 1920 and we were like, yes, but we wanted to give a little bit more. And so we said we need to like flesh out a whole month. So we were already planning this like a year in advance. And then again, COVID hit and we said we have to pivot. So we started with a calendar. We always start with a calendar, especially when we're doing like a huge thing. Like how many days do we have to fill? This is like where we start. And we're going to get into planning really soon. So the way we broke it down was if you look on the Sunday, down the Sunday side, we have like the first week was Black artists, fashionistas, musicians, etc. The second week we did HBCUs. The third week we did Black intellectuals. The fourth we did Black inventors. And remembering that we had videos and things throughout the entire month that informed our trivia at the end of the month. So if the kids have been like following along, been there every day, they got like videos and bits and pieces about all different kinds of things. So in week one, and we also made it like a spirit month. So actually we did a spirit week. So the first week and the last week we did a spirit weeks. And then in the middle, we just had lots of activities. I don't think one thing we didn't mention was how we consistently did Wednesdays. Did we talk about that, P?
We did not talk about that.
But that's one thing to notice. So in that green, we consistently stayed on Wednesdays because until we had just a conversation, BWAP and everything was happening on Thursdays. And then there's like school family council that happened. So we didn't want to damage any partnerships or relationships within our school community or with stakeholders by stepping on times and days that were already established for meetings and events. So we made ours like a solid, like on a Wednesday, you can count on me and P acting up on the Zoom about 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That's typically what you're going to find. So we try to stay consistent, but the times that are different, there was like a meeting conflict. We had a lot going on. Okay. So, and like I said, in the first week, it was a spirit week. And so we started with artists. So we had our art teacher and the community school coordinator from the middle school put together a PowerPoint where it was like a Bearden versus Basquiat. So it's like number one, free, number two, exposure, and it fit right into our Black history theme. So then in week two, we did the HBCU themes, and this was our reading together. So another thing that we duplicated from in-person to virtual. So during, I think it was American Education Week in 1920, our middle schoolers, again, always building community, walked down to the elementary school and read to the kids like in the classroom. That gave us an idea. How can we duplicate this in the virtual world? So in our second week of Black History Month, we had the kids come in and read. So we did it a little, we learned from our mistakes. When we did it before, it was every grade from pre-K to fifth grade being read to virtually, because we did try it during American Education Week this time around. And we realized that was a lot to manage with children and community partners all coming in to read on the same day. So we split it up. So if you look on there, you'll see, so we had the whole admin team read a story that I love. My aunt gave me this book when I was a child called The People Could Fly. So all of the admin got together and it was like, I think 7 of them and all read different pieces of that. And we showed that to the entire school community one morning, on that Monday morning. And then on that Tuesday, middle schoolers came to pre-K and K classrooms, virtually again and read. On Wednesday, so this wasn't a day that anyone read because Wednesdays were asynchronous for us, but we had an event called Meet the Author. My sister is an author, she's a poet, she's an activist, she's a teacher. So I asked her, she has a high rate, but I asked her if she would do it for free for the children. And because she's my sister, she did it. And she had activities prepared for them. She read some of her poetry. She like performed for them, and the kids were able to do that back 100% free. She had like a haiku thing that they were able to do. They were writing in the chat. It was very interactive, building community. We didn't pay $1. On Thursday, we had first and second grade being read to by the middle schools. It was a little easier to manage. We learned from our mistakes. And on that Friday, we had community partners read to third through fifth grade. And the book that P showed you, Harlem's Little Blackbird, in order to make it, again, much simpler, we learned from our mistakes. Before we were like, hey, kids, middle school kids, find a kid's book, bring it back to the kids. That had a lot of
create your own Google Slides, show the Google Slides and read to.
Yeah, we had to learn from our mistakes. So we said, let's make this more simple. 2 books. We created the slides. We did the prepping with the kids and made sure they were comfortable. We paired 2 kids for each classroom. Like we adjusted to make it work for what we wanted to do, but very easy to duplicate. Even next year, if we were going back in person, this is something, we all have screens and computers now. You can bring someone in to do something virtually and it doesn't cost a dime.
Exactly. And it doesn't cost a dime, everybody. Again, free ideas. Free, free, free. We love free here. We live in free when we can.
So then we went into the 3rd week. So this week we did a self-care for parents because we wanted to just bring them back into it. So we did Black Intellectuals, again, a whole week's worth of video content. And it was cool because teachers signed up to actually create the videos. We gave them the content. I had an intern. I always have interns. I'm the only school counselor, so they are critical to the work. So in some of the pictures that P showed you, my intern was in there right along, like doing everything that we were doing, working right along with us. So he was very instrumental in helping us like create the content. So on this Wednesday, you see it's a little bit later time because we were kind of tailoring it to parents, a self-care, kind of self-love kind of vibe, because like History Month, Valentine's Day, they fall all together. So we wanted to kind of honor that. And then in our last week, we did a shout out to Black inventors and circle back around to our Spirit Week. So we had just all kinds of amazing days where the kids and the teachers dressed up on the Zoom still. We had our culminating trivia night. And then we also had a BWAP. And then P, I want you to talk about that awesome showcase that kind of wrapped up Black history. But all
I gotcha. All for free. So our showcase, everybody. So we've always done showcases. So we've always had like a winter showcase, a Black History Month showcase, and like a spring play. And so we were really trying to wrap our heads around how to make a production virtually. And so I met with our music instructors, our art instructor, one of our PE instructors actually teaches dance as an after school club, met with her in addition to one of our SPED teachers who does she typically does the plays and productions, so a lot of spoken word and drama classes and all of that. So we met all together and we said, okay, how to do this for free, how to do this virtually. And so it was, let's do a permission slip. So our in-person hard copy of the permission slip literally just converted to a Google form. That was easy. Then from there, we were able to take the listing of students who gave us the form, pull students into breakout rooms and record, or schedule one of the our SPED teacher was able to schedule, because we had an asynchronous Wednesday. She scheduled a time to record kids on that Wednesday for the spoken word piece. And so again, it's working with your team, right? No I in team, working with your team, and then pivoting to how can we make this event possible. So we really do live in the anything is possible realm. I really don't like to be told I can't do things or that this won't work, or I don't like any of that. It doesn't belong in my spirit. So we always find a way. And so what we did was we ended up having a few songs. We ended up having a few dances. We ended up having a few spoken word pieces. And then our music teacher said, hey, I can put all the videos together. She volunteered. She said, I can do this. So put it all together. And then we just converted it into a YouTube link. And all we did, everybody, was put the YouTube link in the Google Classrooms, right? And then people could watch it. And then we put it in our Friday letter and people could click on the YouTube link over the weekend and watch it. And it was just another way for kids to be exposed, to show, that they love the arts, to have that conversation. Some teachers played it during their morning meeting in case kids couldn't see it on the Wednesday, on Wednesday. But I did use on this Wednesday, I decided instead of a learning extension, that was the learning extension. So we did community. So our pre-K and K team watched it at one time, our first to third grade watched at another, and our fourth and fifth grade watched at another. But again, if we didn't have access to that time, it's a YouTube link. So you just send it out and let people watch as they'd like. But it was all free, and it was phenomenal because we realized in that time frame, it didn't take us as much time as we had thought. So what we thought, right, whereas in person, it would have taken weeks of preparation, right? Weeks of bringing everybody together, and then everybody in the same space, and then everybody going on stage, and then going back and getting all these hands and bodies involved. We really were able to cut a lot of that out because it was in the virtual world. And our team is really talking about keeping our performances like this. And then again, if we're all back together, just streaming it live for everybody, or letting the classroom teacher stream it live. But this has really changed our game. We were able to do our family and me time. We were able to do a production too. So this year, and we were able to do 2 of our productions, which I was really excited about, and also very worried. Oh, and our art teacher took pictures of the work, just had kids hold it up on Zoom. And then we were, again, able to incorporate that into the presentation and production, which realistically would have just been on the walls, right, in the actual physical cafeteria, gymnasium, auditorium space. So this way, everyone got to see all of the artwork that was being shown, instead of you just coming in and maybe seeing it here or maybe seeing it there. So everybody really enjoyed themselves. All right. So real quick there are 3 steps. Step 1 is reflect. So you're going to think about when you're planning your events, right? You're going to think about your previous events, what was most successful, what needs more thought, and what needs to be tossed. Me and I have talked to you guys about some of the things where, listen, we didn't always get it right, okay? A lot of times, it was a lot of fluff and a lot of mess at times. And we really talked about right after those events, what could we do differently? So we do suggest that if you can, just take 5-10 minutes after an event and talk to your team. What went well here? What didn't go well? It doesn't have to be a long drawn out conversation, but just so you could quickly write those down so you could remember them when you're planning for the next year.
And one of our big our fails early on was a movie night that we tried to do. We were
Yes.
like, if we did like a family movie night, and it's like not realizing that certain systems will like lock you out, blur the screen, black the screen. Audio is an issue. Streaming is an issue. There are 4 other people in my house, so everybody's off the internet. It's like a lot of things that we learned in the process, and there's no harm in just saying that did not work. We're not going to duplicate that again, and figuring out like keeping it to the best things that you have to take forward into the next year.
Exactly. And then again, for our virtual career fair, we knew that could work, right? From an in-person to a virtual, still free. And then now, how do we make it international? So taking those steps and gradually doing it, and then collaborating with other people and hearing about what other schools are doing too, because everybody has some great stuff going on. We as community school coordinators just might not get the time to really sit and hear what everybody else is doing. So these are some questions that we always reflect on.
Yeah.
And then step 2, you got to think it through. Again, using your previous year's events calendar as your guide. So we always use our calendar from the previous year, all of our events we print out just to look to see what it looked like. And then we typically will transition that to the following year. Again, you might be a new school, or you might be a new coordinator at your school, and you might not have as many events as we have. So take the time, decide, what are you going to do? Who needs to be involved in a certain event? What is the time commitment? For the virtual career fair, if it was in person, people would have needed dedicated at least an hour to that. Whereas in the virtual space, they just needed to send a 2 to 5 minute video. So again, think about your commitment. Think about how much you're asking people to do. What's the ask? You got to be specific for some people. We realize that head on. Sometimes teachers, or you might have the idea, and then sometimes teachers might not understand what you're asking for, or your partner might not understand what you're asking for. Absolutely. We are going to give you all of these presentations, but Margie, we can absolutely post these questions too. But again, you know, what is the ask? When and where? Where are you going to have your event? Is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be a hybrid? Are you trying to do both at the same time? When are you going to have it? Every school community has other events going on. Be mindful of that when you're planning your school's events. We're not saying you can avoid everything, right? Like, obviously things are going to pop up in your school community, but you want to be mindful because you don't want to hurt those relationships, right? If you know that your neighborhood association meets every Tuesday at 5 p.m., I would personally suggest don't host a family event if you can help it on Tuesday at 5 p.m. I see some head nods in the chat, like, yeah, you just want to be mindful that you are trying to build the community and the school together. And so if you constantly are butting up against other meetings that your community is hosting, you're tearing families into having to choose. Which one do I go to? Who do I support? And then you're also potentially harming that potential partnership, because then it's like, well, man, are they trying to do it always when we've already said this was a time? And it's okay, right? If you didn't know, that's a quick email or a quick conversation. Hi, I'm new. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I didn't realize that your event was happening, but moving forward, I'm going to really talk to my school community about not having the event on the same day and time. Why? Because we're not trying to compete with other organizations, guys. We want to make sure that our families are getting all of the resources. We want to be, yes, Sharice, accommodating. Yes. And then follow up. It is important to always follow up with people that you are working with in these events. Follow up. Make sure that they have it on their calendars. Make sure that they have all the resources. Think about what questions they might have. Think about what resources they might need. And then again, keep in communication. I'll give you an example. Black History Month, I had a wonderful friend who's also an author. She wanted to be able to be there with us. 2 weeks following up after the initial conversation, I talked to her, loop back to say, hey, are we still good for 2 weeks from now, right? So that was a month before, right? Talked to her a month before, talked to her 2 weeks before. And she said, Pete, I apologize, but I have so much work right now because all schools were going back in person. And so with that, I completely understood, right? So we had a backup. Always have your backup too. And understand that nobody is necessarily maliciously trying to not be a part of your school event, but things happen. People get sick, family emergencies come up. What's your backup going to be, guys?
I 100% agree. And I was going to wrap that point up, having everyone as prepared as possible prevents people from backing out at the last minute. So if you're not used to talking in front of people, or if you're asking someone to come out of their comfort zone, but they feel like they don't know what to expect, they're less likely to like want to do it again. So the more information you can give them. So like with my sister, for P's example, her friend was going to do the younger kids and my sister was going to do the middle school kids. And so when her friend couldn't do it, I talked to her, I said, look, so it's going to be pre-K through 8. So is that okay? Can you adjust? So she had questions and we were able to communicate so that she could provide a quality product that she was happy with and didn't feel like put off, because it was like last minute. But if P hadn't done that follow-up 2 weeks prior, then I wouldn't have been able to circle back and give her more information. So important to think through as much of the process as possible, to make sure that you don't leave anything out. And that's why it's always good to have a partner, because like P said, you're the unicorn in your school. I'm the unicorn in my school. You can find your people because typically there's somebody else who's the only one doing that job at the school. And y'all can link up and create like a little bit of community there and become partners for each other.
Absolutely. And then step 3, start promoting people. So it's time to create that flyer. Post on my walls, my go-to, but of course, use what you like. The Zoom link, if you're doing virtual, do it right then and there, people. When you have the event idea, you made your poster, go ahead and do the Zoom link, and then make that calendar invite. If you are not a calendar invite person, I'm going to strongly recommend you become that person.
Calendar invite
Like,
person.
you become that person. You become the person that puts that calendar invite into all of your colleagues' emails, okay? Into all of their calendars. That way, everybody, at least in your school staff community, knows what's happening and when. So nobody can say, oh, I missed that staff meeting. I didn't hear you say that. Or, oh man, I wasn't at that team meeting. I didn't know, I didn't get those in the notes. Or, oh no, I didn't talk to such and such. That's what? That's happening. What? I would have been there. No, no, no. All those excuses, everybody, go right out that window, because you have now added it to everybody's calendar. I'm talking your principals, your assistant principals, your teachers, your support staff, everybody in your building that you have an email address for. You start adding it into the calendar invite. That way they know. And it's, again, really simple. Boom, that location is either the Zoom link or where in the school it's going to be. And then it reminds them, right? It pops up. And then it also gives you a gauge too as to who says yes, they can come. And don't be fooled by that, everybody. People say yes, they can come, as you know, and then they don't pop up. Or people say no, they won't be there, and then they pop up. But again, it's on their calendar. So it helps them remember. And at least you've done your due diligence too of making sure that your staff is reminded about the events. And then you're going to share it. You're going to share it.
I wanted to say something about the Zoom link thing, because I want to share our fails as well as our wins. When we first started, we were doing RSVPs through Zoom.
Woo.
That was a mistake. Like,
Yeah.
it was so confusing, like doing RSVP and then they have to fill it up. We just wanted people to the event, you know what I mean? And after a while, we were like, we could see the same people showing up. We would, sometimes take attendance, take a screenshot or whatever. But like things like that were prohibiting families from joining us immediately.
Yes.
And if you're already joining after hours, you don't need a bunch of extra steps. So we made it as simple as possible with the calendar link. Also, you saw someone mention that they liked that it was in the Google Classroom. So that was also in there for all of the kids. And up the hill, we say up the hill, down the hill. So up the hill is middle school, down hill is elementary. So up the hill, it was going into the Google Classrooms. And also we both have Classroom Parent. The whole school has that. So we also pushed it out in that way too. So we did a lot of communicating so that families knew the event. We also have an Instagram page and Facebook page, personal and school. And I would share, P would share, the school would share. So anybody related or connected would send out content. And this is a real thing that's happened to me. Like, I would do videos in the morning when COVID first hit. And I was running around Montebello, and this woman stopped me and was like, I watch you in the mornings. And her child does not go to Bel Air Edison, but she recognized me from these videos where I was like dancing and doing music and trying to give like motivational messages. And then when some kids came in to the school, they were like, oh, that's Miss Mia, because of the videos. And you know what I mean? And so it's like still creating a sense of community. So when these kids come back, they will, my voice, or they'll be like, oh, that's that lady. I'll take that lady. I'll take that. You know what I mean? But it's and P is also on the screen. So it's like building that community so that families and the kids feel like safe. Like I still know I'm still connected in some way to the school, because our little babies have never even stepped foot in the school, lots of them.
Right.
So this kind of helps to build that community and that connection. And again, for free.
Absolutely. So yes, make sure you share with everybody. You have your teachers talk about it. If they're doing morning meetings or closing circle, or they're doing their own Friday letter, or your principal's doing a Friday letter, you want to push these events out, because a lot of times, right, people don't join stuff because they might not know about it. And then later on, you might do enough events where you want more feedback. Is this a good time? Because your school community, you might think 4 o'clock is popping for everybody. And your school community comes back and says, you know what? Wednesdays at 4 isn't really good for us as a school community. And they might explain why, right? Quick comment. And they might say, you know what? Tuesdays at noon is when a lot of the families are involved. So that you are going to have to tailor with your school community, but share it with everybody. Share. Certain events partners can come to. Certain events are just for families and staff. Certain events you're going to do just for staff to build the community. You're going to be mindful about that. But again, a lot of this is for what? Free 99. All right. So we are going to stop sharing right now, and we're going to go into, does anyone have any questions about We threw a lot of content at you guys, but does anybody have any questions for us about events and how to take maybe something that you're like really wrapping your head around and want to do, but you're not sure how to do? Or does anybody, because let me shout out Mia, because we have a lot of OGs in this group right now. Anybody want to share something successful that they've done? Because Mia, I know that you don't know all the coordinators. I don't even know all the coordinators, but right here in this group, we do have a lot of greatness surrounding us. So I do want to take a moment to shout out the great community school coordinators in this group, which we all are, because we're all striving to be better for our communities. So shout out to all of us. But yes, anybody have any questions or anything like that? You can come off of mute or put it in the chat.
Pop in the closing survey right in the chat. So thinking about it, and
you gave us so much great information. Once again, Ms. P, I'm going to be pirating your stuff because but I love it. I love that you share. And I'm glad you said what you said about the movie, because as I was thinking of doing a movie night, and when you said that, I was like, wow. And I remember we did have a problem once, not with a school group, but a group we were doing a movie with the stream.
Mhm.
And it kept going out. Yeah, and we kept losing it. And I was like, okay, maybe we don't want to do a movie night
Right.
now.
Exactly. And you just, again, you're just mindful about those things, right? Like, is that going to work? And you might try it too, and it might be successful. And then the next time it might not be. And you're like, okay, what do I do differently this time? Miss Sandy, you wanted to say something too?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we did 2 movie nights and they were very successful.
Mhm.
And we also, did little treat baskets for the children, popcorn, and they had fruit snacks, and they had juice and just a bunch of stuff, and their parents could come up and pick up the treats for them. This was before we all went back in, and it worked out very well. So I would just offer our team as as a resource for actually doing it. And I didn't actually work on dealing with the film itself. Our school counselor did, and they were flawless. And we had tremendous attendance there was a family event and people came. I think the last movie we did was The Lion King again, and everybody loved seeing that. But we did 2 very successful ones, and that was a lot of fun. And we also did a family STEM night that was equally very successful. And because we're 21st century school, we're getting ready to go back into our new school. And I thought it would be very important for our students to understand the value of having a brand new school, and to also be a stakeholder, just like our community people are and our parents are, our teachers. I thought it would be fun for them to have STEM activities that would be related to our new school. And so we worked with the 21st century school team. We worked with the building contractors and the civil engineers, and the civil engineer for that project happens to be a Black woman, which was also wonderful. So we had all of them sharing and talking to the children, and we actually had the children working with STEM related activities to really understand how to put together a room. It was a fantastic experience. So, those were 2 things that worked very, very well for us.
Thank you so much for sharing. And as you see, everybody, what might not be successful in one school community might be very successful in another, right? So you might just have to try some things. And then if it doesn't work, right, again, tap back into the community school coordinators and see, hey, were you successful with this? And if so, could you guide me through, what networks did you use, right? Or what resources did you use? Because we're all here to help each other, because again, it's all for the kids. So if it's all for the kids, we're all here to support. Somebody put in the chat, they did masterclass Mondays with the families, shared the screen and sent out the class booklets via email. They were a lot of fun. Posted videos via Parent Square, so folks who missed it could view, which is great. Think about, if parents don't come, are we recording the sessions? Are we passing out the resources afterwards? Are we doing an extra night? So think about that too, because you might have some families that really wanted to be there, but said, I just couldn't tonight. So those are also questions you should think about. And then they stayed, yes, they stayed on Parent Square for the entire school year. Shout out to that. All right. Oh, Mia, we're getting so much love in the chat. We appreciate that.
Very lovely. Yes. I'm trying to respond, and I also put our emails in there as well, because
Perfect.
we are like 2 minutes from being completely done. But we
Yes.
absolutely appreciate your time and your patience, and being partners in this whole conversation with us and sharing out. The take home is that you can do amazing things for your families, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot. And just look for the people who have the similar ideas and want to just make something pretty much out of nothing, because all you need is somebody else to believe in your dream, and y'all can make that happen together. That's exactly how P and I did. We just believe in each
Absolutely.
other. We believe in the vision. We want to do what's best for our kids. And so we just like, all right, let's figure out how we can do it.
Right.
We keep it very honest with each other. If y'all
We
did,
do. Mia brings me back down to earth sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, yeah, we can do this. And she's like, yes, but in moderation sometimes, Pete, in moderation. Because I don't like hearing no, everybody. Just, I'm going to throw that out there one more time. No doesn't really exist here because the sky's the limit, right? But please take the time to fill out that survey, because I honestly don't want Family to yell at me and say that we didn't give you that survey. Mia, can you drop that survey in the chat one more time, please?
pasting it in right there. I was like,
Thank you. Perfect. Yes, please take a moment. We're always striving to get better, everybody. So we definitely want your honest feedback. So please, please, please take a couple minutes. I don't think it takes that long to fill it out. But we appreciate it. So without further ado, if you want to stay on and ask a couple more questions or to talk, I got a couple more minutes. I think me and might have a couple more minutes too. But if not, have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy your weekend. You deserve it. No work. I'm saying that again. No work this weekend, everybody, because you have worked hard this week. Okay. You've worked hard.
It was so true.
That's what I'm saying. You have worked hard.